This video is by Straight Goods News, SGNews.ca.
Popular destination that is. It's we said to the government months in advance, you want to work with us, we're willing to work with you. You want to create chaos and havoc in the House of Commons, that is also your determination. We've looked very preliminary. Folks, look, 450 plus pages of complicated legislation by intention. And I read pretty quick, and I've been around Parliament for a bit, but this is by its intention a Trojan horse, right? So they can hide at page number 280 some changes that we haven't yet seen. So we've got to take our time and our due diligence as official opposition to study what's in here. But if the government wanted a prolonged fight, what you do is create complicated, cumbersome legislation that's difficult for Canadians to understand, ram it into one committee and refuse to divide it into its parts. If the government were proud about any of these changes to the environment or changes to research and development, these would be standalone pieces of legislation. You've seen these guys work. When they have a bill that they're proud of, it's balloons and champagne and lots of access. When it's something that they want to hide, they dump it in an omnibus bill. That's what we're looking for, and that's what we're going to analyze.
The navigable waters part, what is your concern about what it does? The changes.
What it does is it further removes projects that would get any kind of environmental assessment or screening. It changes the definition of rivers. It changes a river from today being something we want to protect to something that just happens to be in the way of a pipeline or a major mine. The problem is it further erodes Canadians' capacity to examine projects that are proposed in their communities, in their watersheds. So the government has said to the oil and gas sector in particular, anything that you don't like in Canadian law that encumbers you or forces you to ask difficult questions about the environment, the Conservatives are happy to remove it. And they're, from our initial analysis, again, just very initial, 60 minutes with this thing, it looks like it's a further continuation of that degradation of our environmental standards, all in order to service a very, very small sector of the Canadian economy.
As a gift for pipeline development? Is that how you see this, as a gift for pipeline development?
Oh, it's been a continual Christmas morning for the pipeline industry, right? And all the while, Canadians growing increasingly concerned with the regulations that we have. This government's response is to reduce even those. It's frustrating because they're rigging the entire process in order to just fast track and improve pipelines so there's little public scrutiny and environmental protections.
He said, hope springs eternal. He said it with a bit of sarcasm, if you will, yesterday. I'm just curious, in terms of the NDP, are you feeling beaten down as a result of these large pieces of legislation?
Are you kidding me?
What's the
Really? No.
Get their blood going.
You've been around New Democrats long enough to know we like a good debate, right? We enjoy coming to work and doing our jobs. Conservatives, so far, like spewing out talking points from the PMO. We don't mind getting into this. And if the government is looking for a fight, they'll find one. But again, our primary goal is to make Parliament work for Canadians. That is what we were sent here to do. That is what we wake up every day hopeful to do. No sarcasm at all. If the government keeps doing things like this, right, and suggesting to Canadians that Parliament doesn't matter and their voices don't count, well, then they have a fight on their hands.
But you can
tools at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Do you feel limited?
No.
Why?
Why would I feel limited?
Because you can't ultimately stop the passage of this bill.
Yeah, but potentially. But we also know who the strongest lobby group in the country is right now, and that's the Conservative caucus. Because the initial proposal on NP pensions, for example, was much more than what we see here today. So this government does blink. We got to allow Canadians access to their parliamentarians and their government to say what it is that we do want from our government. Job creation, right? This is supposed to be the primary function of this government right now. We look through the bill, we find so little about actually creating jobs. And in the last bill, similar scenarios. So we separate the noise from what actually happens. That's part of our work. Part of our work is exposing.
You can study this all you want, but you're not going to support it, right?
Well, we haven't said that.
Well, what do you like? Like, what could possibly make you support this?
The font is beautiful. Let's start there. The font is nice. The work that New Democrats have to do right now, what we're engaged in, we've had now 68 minutes with the bill. Right? We'll spend more time and find out what's in here that's good. Part of the reason for dividing a bill, by the way, is to do what Mr. Harper said when he was in opposition was very important, which is to allow MPs to understand what they're voting on and support the things they want to support. Yeah. We're not dividing the bill just for the sake of the division to have more meetings. The point is to understand if there are good aspects of the bill that can be supported and bad aspects that you oppose.
But it is what it is. You're saying there's a chance you might support this bill?
I'm not a fatalist. I think politics is an incredible thing where everybody says things that are inevitable sometimes are and sometimes aren't.
Mr. Cullen, you said this morning, you said that you're
concerned that it will go to one committee and that will have sort of oversight over the entire thing.
Yeah.
Have you had any indication that the government will be willing to put it to more than one committee?
Well, I don't know if you want to talk about those earlier comments, but government blows a little hot and cold on this. They say they want proper study of their laws, and then when you say, well, let's do it this way, they say no. They said no last time. We got somewhat far down the negotiating timeline.
Right, you had a subcommittee for
The subcommittee, if you look through the experience of what that was like, Peggy can speak to that, having been involved, was not great. Did not give Canadians what they need. We attempted and worked with the government in good faith last time, negotiated at several meetings in Mr. Van Loon's office to try to find a way to make this work, and Mr. Flaherty came out to a microphone and said, no chance. We're open to good faith negotiations again. If they want to sit down and talk and allow us to do our work, of course we're going to be open to that conversation. Hope does, in fact, bring